All right. Maybe just as important as the spring game itself are some visitors coming to campus over the weekend to check out the university, the football program, and the scene at Memorial Stadium. And so, Justin, of course, those are 2025 and probably 2026 recruiting targets. So,
Correct.
who are we looking at there?
So, just to name a few, Michael Terry, of course. A lot of fans know about him because he is the number one athlete in the state of Texas, or number one athlete in the state of Texas, number one athlete nationally, top 5 player in the state of Texas, 4-star recruit, probably gonna be a 5-star at some point, and he's going to be in town this weekend. So this is a very stacked. This might be one of the more stacked classes we've seen, or more stacked groups of visitors we've seen, because you have Michael Terry there, of course. And then you also have Cortez Mills. Cortez Mills, widely known, Miami kid. He's from Florida, so Miami was kind of where he was leaning heavily. Most thought he was going to go to Miami, still kind of a lean to Miami. He visited them in June of June 21st. So it's going to be really interesting to see if we can pry, a couple of these top players out of the state of Texas and out of Florida, because that's going to be very key for this team, because they really focus heavily on Texas and Florida. So, but just having some of these top guys from those states visiting, and of course, Cortez Mills, 95-star rated with 24/7 composite, 90 rated overall, but, top 15 receiver nationally. And then, top 80, top he's 87th in the 24/7 composite, 186th nationally. So take that what you will with the composites and stuff like that. But very, very talented receiver, 6'1", 170, lean frame. But you look at the film and the guy is just, he's a ball hawk. He'll go find it. He's very athletic, very skilled, very fast. And so doing a lot of really good things. He was a all-Dade selection out of Florida. So, 18 touchdowns. I think he had like 1,700 yards his senior season. So then we have TJ Lateef coming in. TJ Lateef is the quarterback that I'm super excited about. And I think when TJ comes in, I'm really going to be looking forward to seeing him play, and did a film breakdown on him. Not a bigger quarterback, 6'1", 185, from Orange, California, but 4-star rated, on the composite and 24/7 sports, top 20 quarterback in that class, top 25 player in the state of California, top 300 nationally, can do a lot of things well, but sees the field really well. He also competes in track. So, he's got some speed, but he knows how to stand in the pocket and throw a football. Had 320 attempts as a sophomore, and got injured his senior season. So I had 214 passes. So, but, heavy volume, 2,400 yards passing and 150 rushing yards. So he's one of those guys who's pass first, even though he is quick. He does have speed. So, and that's what they want on this team. They want somebody who's going to be able to stand in the pocket and make those throws. So, I'm going to butcher I'm so bad with pronunciations of some of these names, but Alai Kalaniavalu. I don't know. I probably butchered that, but interior offensive lineman. This is what we want right here. 4-star interior offensive lineman, 93 graded on the composite. 24/7 sports has a 91. Top 10 offensive lineman nationally, top 5 player in the state of Nevada, and top 200 overall. And so, getting some of these heavy hitters on the line, to pair with your Grant Bricks and guys like that, Gibson Pyle, another guy that I'm excited about, to just kind of stack these offensive lineman classes. And, we've seen the development that they've had with the offensive line as it sits, but to get some of these, highly touted, highly rated recruits and really develop them, we can finally get an offensive line that we've traditionally seen at Nebraska, before, that really made this team hard to beat, because in the Big Ten, you got to win the trenches. Emmanuel Choice, another one, Lancaster, Texas, wide receiver, 6'4", 200 pounds, Near 4-star, just 89 rated, 24/7 composite, but top 100 player in the state of Texas, you know, top 100 receiver. So he's, got a lot of size, a lot of length, and plays, difficult ball in the state of Texas, but he's a burner. Competes in track, 110-meter hurdles and 300-meter hurdles. So he's fast, he's athletic, and it's just another dual sport athlete that they like. Then coming over to Florida again, sorry, notice the trend of these guys, Texas and Florida for a lot of them, Nevada for one. Safety, 6'2", safety's a position that we really want to get stacked up. And a lot of these safeties too potentially can rotate down to linebacker in this defense. You never know where they're going to put them, but some of these bigger, stronger physical safeties might move down. But then you got a guy like Antonio Branch, 6'2", very lean, 89 rated on the composite and 24/7 sports, being recruited by schools like Florida State, Auburn, Miami, and things like that. So he's a very, very, very good player. He's already visited Florida State's camp and stuff like that. So it'll be key to get these guys in here, having this stat class coming for the spring game. They kind of get to see the fan support. They kind of get to see the offense. They get to interact with some of these players when they're in their in-game environment. And, they get to see how some of these players get coached and how, the cohesion is and all that stuff. And I think this year more than ever, that's going to be a very good thing for them to see, because it's going to show the relationships that have been built. And that goes a long way with players, and it goes a long ways with their families as well. They're going to want to know these things. And, is it a family atmosphere? Are you going to feel welcome there? So we'll get to see a lot of that interaction there, and then see how the offense looks. And hopefully some of these offensive guys like what they see.
Grab some water, Justin.
Hey.
Okay. Grab some water, take a drink. Let me talk for a few minutes. So again, we're here every Tuesday, folks. Huskers Live. Check out the Big Ten Show. That is a channel covering Big Ten football right here on YouTube, featuring Justin, our buddy Sonny Verma as well. So check out their work on the Big Ten channel.
Yes, sir.
And also, it always intrigues me to a certain extent when you have a lot of players, as you mentioned, coming up from Texas, coming up from Florida.
There's more coming
north,
but that was that. There's more than I listed coming too, but that was just kind of the few that I wanted to touch on specifically.
The headliners. So a lot of guys come up north, and just a lot of those players have never been out of their state, out of their region, coming up north. And we saw it across Big Ten territory at the Michigan spring game, other locations. Our guy Corey Brada went to the Iowa game. It was blustery and cold. It was in the 40s. I don't know what it looked like in Nebraska last Saturday, but this Saturday we're looking at basically 80 degrees, and it looks like it's going to be mostly sunny. Yep. So, you're not going to fool anyone, I don't think, but It can't hurt to at least plant in their minds, I'm on the field, I'm watching the game. It's a nice sunny day and it's warm. Yeah. And sometimes our feelings and our experiences, regardless of what we know to be true, we take from that experience more so, and that stays with us more so than what we know about what it could look like in Nebraska late November.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of under the radar things that they'll be able to see because, visiting now as opposed to the previous people that have visited, that they brought into practices and stuff like that is, they kind of get to come in and see, one of the bigger things that people talk about, and one of the running jokes that people have against Nebraska is there's nothing else to do in Nebraska, which doesn't really make sense because, I fly from Arizona to watch games. So it's one of those things that those players get to come see Lincoln and see that it's a city just like any other city. It's not just cornfields in Nebraska. There's a lot of them, but like there's cities there. It has, an economy, and it is, there's stuff going on there. So they'll get to see that stuff, and they'll get to experience a Saturday and what it's like with the fans and the buzz. And then, like you said, with the weather being good, it does make the experience better overall too, because you got to think when people are, freezing in the cold and stuff like that, they're like, when the hell am I going to get out of here? They're not really, it's not, I don't think they can be as relaxed and as comfortable and just be able to hang out and mingle and stuff like that. At least that's how I would be because I'm not good with the cold. Um, but yeah, I think it's going to benefit the overall experience. And I think, but I think a lot of these guys um, accept the challenge of the cold. I think a lot of these guys understand that if they want to make it in the league, they're going to have to be able to play in the cold. And so I think those guys or the guys that the staff wants to target are the guys that will probably come out there regardless and be cool with it. But yeah, Texas, Florida, Vegas, you got a lot of guys coming out from very, very warm climates. And it is nice to have good weather. And so they can get a full experience of everything and maybe even, walk around downtown Lincoln and see, that atmosphere, like I said before. So definitely an advantage to that for sure.
We've already mentioned him today. No connection to Nebraska football, but Deion Sanders also made a statement. You're probably more familiar with it than I am since you covered the NFL and the NFL draft far more extensively than I do about, I think it had to do specifically with his two sons and with Travis Hunter and him not wanting them to play and that they won't play for cold weather teams. I heard something about this a couple of weeks ago that he made a list of teams that they would play for.
Saw that. I,
Yeah.
I did see that. Yeah. And it's one of those things. It's like, um, those players that, I don't know what the advantage is there, because they played in Colorado and stuff like that. But the mindset that they're instilling here is that we are going to put ourselves in the most difficult situations possible so that way we're prepared. Because even EJ Barthel, today, and they didn't really even ask about it. He just kind of went into talking about how they are running like an NFL kind of style plays on offense and they in their mentality and what they want these guys to do is be adaptable and not only be adaptable to those things like that, right? But but be able to attack any situation, be ready to, run different schemes if the personnel dictates that, be ready to adapt. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we've got out of this is just the mental toughness. And every player talks about like, Gabe Ervin talked about, he's like, not everybody's built for this. And that's what's kind of showing you that when you get those guys who you really instill that mindset in them, those guys are going to want that challenge. They're going to want to see how they go play in the cold weather. They're going to want to go out there so they can build their mentality and their mental strength. So I think that's a difference between when you got, one trying to instill a foundation and grow young men, and then you have another one where they're really trying to grow a brand. One's worried about growing the foundation of the team and growing these people, these young men to be, good men, respectable men, but also develop them to be leaders and develop them to the ones that want to go and are able to go, get them to the NFL. And I think one's only worried about the players that'll get to the NFL and build a brand. So that polar opposite mindset is something that stands out to this team as well.
And if you plant that dread or that fear or that whatever you want to call it in somebody's mind that has to step out onto the field when it's 25 degrees, if you plant that into their mind that this is going to hurt your game, this is going to be something you're going to dread, you're not going to like, well, Deion Sanders should know this better than I do because he experienced it.
Playoffs.
You can go hide wherever,
Yep.
Jacksonville, Miami, wherever, and you are going to have to play in Buffalo, New England, Green Bay, Minnesota. We can go through the list: Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati, on down the line. Shoot, we saw a playoff game in Kansas City
Mhm.
that people don't think of that being at the top of the cold weather list, but we see some of the coldest games in Kansas City. And that game they played against the Dolphins was one of the coldest in NFL history
Yeah.
this past postseason.
Yeah, you can't avoid road games, and yeah, like you said, it's just a lot of times, throughout history, the most successful teams have been cold weather teams. Like, look at um, teams like Miami, right? Like a team like Miami, when they had to play in the cold, really was not able to score, was not able to move the ball. And so it doesn't matter how long you try to avoid it or whatever, without experience in it, you're just setting yourself up for failure. So to not be able to think ahead, and especially when you've played in that environment, I think that's why a lot of these players too are fine, and really they don't mention the weather a lot anymore. A lot of these players, it doesn't come up. They don't mention like, I didn't want to play there because of the cold weather. You may hear it every now and then, but it's not something that a lot of players talk about. So I really think it's more just of like a spoiled mentality. I want to make most of my career as easy as I can possibly make it, so I can be good in those moments. And I think that's when they're more worried about the individual aspect versus the team aspect. Because at the end of the day, if you can't quarterback in good weather, you can't play in good weather, you're a liability to your team when it comes crunch time in the playoffs and those things. So yeah, it's concerning, that's for sure.
William Adair's here. William, we appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Been promoted at work. Oh, you've been promoted at work. Well, congratulations, William. That's good. Been missing the live show. I glanced at that initially and thought that William was promoting the show at
Oh,
work.
go ahead, William.
But
Promoted.
that is certainly good for you, William. We say congratulations. But yes, you are also free to promote. Maybe you can now mandate that, since you've been promoted at work, to some of the people below you. But
Exactly.
that this is the place to be on Tuesday night.
Good on
We've got super chat coming in from our buddy Dave. This is Minnesota Dave. Thank you for being here, Dave. We appreciate the 5 spot. I'm going to miss playing Nebraska year in and year out. Nice fans, and we agree on two things. We both hate Iowa and Wisconsin.
Facts. Agreed.